Welcome in TNC Radio.live. This is Keep On Talking. And now here's your host, Tom Kirk.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. Welcome to Keep On Talking Live, where we gather each week here at the Counter of Knowledge to exchange ideas, thoughts, talk about some of the latest news coming in and out of trucking. And this week we're going to do something just a little different. Many weeks we pick one topic and kind of focus on that. But over the last few weeks, a whole bunch of drivers I know, myself included, we've gotten some bad news, whether it's the loss of loved ones, work issues, family issues. And I had several drivers reach out to me and say, you know what? One of the nice things about the days at a Counter of Knowledge where we gather and talk to each other at the truck stops is some days we could tell when each other was having a bad day. We just share stories and thoughts and maybe do a little light conversation about the latest news. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on tonight. We're going to throw out some various topics, maybe some headlines that are of what's going on out in the industry, kind of check in with some of our callers, both regular and maybe not quite as regular, and see kind of what's going on in their lives, and just kind of have a whole bunch of fun like we used to do at the truck stops back when they had the drivers' tables and the Counter of Knowledge and things like that. So hope you enjoy tonight's show. You can join in the conversation at 706-862-8620. Or if you're listening in on that TNC radio app, you've got that one button dialing there where it says call us. Just press that and that'll take you right to us there tonight. So hopefully you're joining. We're going to kind of jump right in with Bruce and Dutch tonight. How are you doing, guys?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Real good.
Hey, that's pretty. That is good to hear. So, Bruce, let's start off with you, and Dutch, we'll kick it over. I know you and the family have recently had to deal with a little bit of that hurricane there. How's the family doing? There and everything going for you guys?
Well, we were lucky enough to pretty much dodge the bullet. When it first started coming in, we thought we were going to be right in the line of it, but it decided to take a drastic turn to the right down there in Fort Myers. And yeah, it took Fort Myers out. A lot of the barrier islands are destroyed, but we survived with just rain and maybe 55-mile-an-hour winds, just a lot of debris from the trees and downed limbs, but no damage and no one got hurt.
And that's definitely good to hear. We're glad to hear that you and yours are safe as well. Hey, Dutch, how are you doing?
My other half told me that all they had was a couple of down branches. The outlet mall behind us was flooded. And there were a couple of houses that were damaged and a couple miles away, but we, as a whole, we survived it. I mean, we live in an apartment, so we were worried about it, but I mean, we got high winds, and of course, the dogs were howling. The dog and the cat were all going crazy. Other than that, they're still doing good. They're still kicking. So, and I was away from there, so it's a good thing. But I was worried because, I mean, when you hear that, oh, we're going to get 100-mile winds, and we got a apartment complex that's been built like 1972 or somewhere in that area. So yeah, it's not really hurricane resistant, if you want to say it that way, but it could hold up to like a category 3, which is 80-mile-an-hour, 90-mile-an-hour winds. So it did. I mean, there's no damage except for like a couple of downwinds, and the lakes were a little flooded, but that's it.
Well, that is definitely good. Hey, Bruce, I know you and I were talking earlier today about a few different things. Is there any headlines or anything that has jumped out at you over the last, few weeks, or stories that you've heard out there on the road that have kind of grabbed your interest?
The speed limiters, when the comment section came out, FMCSA got hammered with comments, and they've expanded it, I think, till June. Yeah. So they pushed it out till June of 2023. And from what I was reading, they want maybe 68 will be the max, but they're not sure on speed limiters. For any motor vehicle, commercial motor vehicle of 26,001 pounds or more. So, yeah, that's still on the table.
And that's, as an important thing that we always try to remember, drivers, try to stay up on some of this stuff, because that is important. Last week we were talking a little bit about autonomous trucks, but that speed limiters is an issue there. And something that I have found interesting is, if you go back a few years ago to some of the mega fleets that were out there, they were pushing, 64, 65. They're kind of creeping it up closer to 68, 70. They're arguing some of the new technology makes it safer, but I think they're discovering that, hey, if you slow it down too much, it makes it even harder, to meet all the freight demands that are out there. And to be blunt, they're leaving some money on the table. So, those are some issues that are definitely worth there. And the other headline that kind of goes along with that I want to point out real quick, is that the FMCSA has just denied the petition to add limits to personal conveyance. I don't know, for those who may have not heard, the CVSA, the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, earlier this year had requested that the FMCSA put some additional limits on the personal conveyance, because they felt some drivers were abusing it for a variety of reasons. And you had some owner operators, though, who said, hey, if I want to use my truck for a vacation and I want to drive from, let's say, California to Florida, and I'm not going to make any money, why should I have to follow hours of service? Now, obviously, there was probably some people who were taking advantage a little bit, shall we say, or using a little bit too much flexibility. But there were legitimate situations where if a driver was going home for time off or whatever, particularly if they weren't being paid for it, why should they have to log it? And I think that was a legitimate question. So, there's a bunch of headlines out there that are kind of grabbing people's attention. Hey, Judge, is there anything that you've seen that has caught your attention here over the last week or two?
Well, fuel prices going back up because they can only get fuel from Saudi Arabia, I believe it was. And, of course, Biden is refusing to open up any refineries that we have in-house, which I think will help us a lot because, fuel prices are already high enough, so how much higher are they going to go? I didn't really get into it because, I try not to read as much news as I can. I just pops up my news break or whatever it's called, the app I have. And I saw that and I read that one, but most of them I just leave alone because if you read all the news that's going on, it just makes you go crazy because there's so much stuff thrown at you at all times. Like he said, the FMCA, and they're trying to make the limiters at 68, which that I think will hurt more than anything else. That won't be doing any good to anybody because it's going to cause a major gridiron from East Coast to West Coast. They put speed limits at 80 in West Coast. Now, how are you going to do that? You can't. That's not going to be safe. Cars going to be, it's just, and just like with the fuel, that's ridiculous. They got to work with us a little bit here because we're the ones that keep the United States supplied with everything. How are we going to make the supply and demand if we don't have fuel and we can't get there in time because of speed limiters?
Exactly. You get states like California, they will never lift the speed limit for trucks.
No.
Well, and you got a couple other states that have split speed limits too.
Michigan. Oregon, Michigan, but Oregon and California are probably the two worst.
Yes.
And the one thing though that I would say though, they could potentially lift it, but the only way they would lift it is if the federal government did what they've done on other issues, saying, hey, if you don't raise the speed limit to this national standard, we're going to start cutting some of your highway money. Now, in the case of California, They're not going to care, but that's a whole
No, they're
other
not.
conversation. But we try to stay. We try to stay away from politics here. So that's one topic we're not going to go down. But hey, we're coming up on a break here. We got to take, and we got a first time caller here that we're going to bring on here in just a moment. But we're going to do a quick trivia question here. Who is the trucker's travel agent? Would it be your
dispatcher?
bingo? Your dispatcher. That is your travel agent. So, and on that note, we're going to go take a few messages here and check with our travel agents, and we'll be right back right after these messages. Stay tuned.
It's Truckers Life Radio from TFC Global with your host, Ron Frazier. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Here we're helping drivers as they travel life's highway. I love that. The spiritual side, drivers face a lot out on the road. Truckers Life Radio digs in on the spiritual and moral questions that drivers face on a daily basis. You don't want to miss it. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
This blog is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Truckers Against Trafficking can help fight modern-day slavery. Human trafficking is a real and frightening issue in the United States. It's a crime that forcefully exploits women, men, and children. Human trafficking involves transporting a person into a situation of exploitation, which can include forced labor, marriage, or prostitution. The term exploitation in this sense is commonly referred to as modern slavery. At this time, it's estimated that there are 20 to 40 million human trafficking victims internationally. According to the ACLU, the United States Department of State estimates that 14 to 17,000 people are trafficked into the United States each year. Truckers Against Trafficking exists to educate, equip, empower, and mobilize members of the trucking, bus, and energy industries to combat human trafficking. Truckers Against Trafficking goals: saturate trucking and related industries with TAT materials. Partner with law enforcement and government agencies to facilitate the investigation of human trafficking. Marshal the resources of partners to combat this crime. The Truckers Network proudly sponsors Truckers Against Trafficking and their efforts to fight against this heinous crime that's affecting hundreds of thousands of Americans each year. How truckers can help. Training video. Watch Truckers Against Trafficking's free training video and take the short quiz through their online portal. This will register you as an official TAT-trained, TAT-certified driver. Know the red flags. Download the Truckers Against Trafficking app and request a wallet card and window decal at tat.truckers@gmail.com. Share Truckers Against Trafficking's training with others in person and through social media. How trucking companies, schools can help. Training video. Share Truckers Against Trafficking's free training video with your drivers. Request a digital file of your video or physical DVD from tat.truckers@gmail.com. Know the red flags. Tell your drivers to download the Truckers Against Trafficking app and or request wallet cards for your drivers from tat.truckers@gmail.com. Register your company as trained to reflect your impact in the fight against trafficking and encourage others to do the same. This info blog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
And welcome back in TNC Radio.live. This is Keep On Talking, and your host, Tom Kurt.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. We are back here at the Counter of Knowledge where we gather each week to change thoughts, ideas, and everything else and talk about all things that are trucking. We're actually joined by a first-time caller tonight. Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. Let's try that again in English. I'm doing pretty well myself, thank you very much. But obviously I can't talk tonight, so... maybe if I wins a few dollars, I can go and get my tongue fixed so I can start talking English. But anyways, you've heard a little bit about some of what we're talking about and some of these news headlines that are coming out there. Is there anything that has grabbed your attention here over the last few weeks? That to you is just, hey, this is something that's kind of really catching your attention or interesting to you.
I have two things. The first one is you guys know that there is an exemption request in the Federal Register for my husband to get an exemption from the 30, the 10, the 14, and the 34, and just drive 11 hours in a 24-hour period, however he wants to drive those 11 hours. Tell me, please, that you've all heard about this.
Yes, we have, and we've actually talked a little bit about that and hours of service here. I'd say probably within the first week or two of it coming out.
Okay, well, we've passed the 180 days now, and so we're literally just waiting with bated breath for the decision. We're 99% sure that it's going to be approved. It's just they have the ability to approve it all, deny it all, approve a segment of it, deny a segment of it, however they want to choose. There was another gentleman that put in an exemption shortly after ours, Mr. Ronnie Brown, and his was asking for exemptions from everything. We are just still driving the 11 hours and still using an ELD to monitor, that progress so that, someday in the future you can use that data to do something else. That's one of the things that, is going on in our life right now that's pretty important. The other thing that I wanted to tell you guys about, there's a new truck driver organization that's literally going live next week. And their website is up if anybody wants to check it out. It's going to be pretty cool. It's called CDL Drivers Unlimited. And they have a section for any kind of CDL holder, whether you're a bus driver, whether you're a work truck, company owner, small fleets, company driver, single owner operator, leased operator, whatever. They have something that can help you.
That is very cool. And I know this is the first time I'm hearing it. So do you want to tell us maybe a little bit more about it, how it got started, the idea behind it, maybe some of the people involved?
Yeah. This has been in the works for 2 years. My husband and I learned about it 2 years ago. They gave us a call and tell us what they had in mind. And it is an organization for drivers by drivers. And to quote one of the things I told hubby at the time, we need to get in on the ground floor of this because it's going to blow OIDA out of the water and it's going to be big. Like I said, the website is up and it is CDL. Oh, let me look that up so I don't get it wrong because I want to tell you all the right thing.
And you said it's going to be active sometime next week?
The website is up now. There's actually a part of this, a community part of it, that is called Drivers and Friends. And that is for anyone that's interested in the trucking community. Whether you're a wife, whether you're a relative, whether you're, you work at a small company and you deal with shippers, anything to do with trucking, it's a free community. It's literally Facebook on steroids. And you can come in there. No, the community is like Facebook. Sorry, having a conversation with my husband. You can go in there, talk about things that interest you, things that interest the truck driver in your life, various things like that. And Let me find, I'm trying to find the website again. Here it is, cdldu.com. So cdldriversunlimited.com. All the first letters.
Very cool. And I'm actually pulling it up now, and it does look like a site I'm going to have to explore more later. And so you basically said next week all of these additional things will be coming up. So you can go now and find out a lot of information now. Correct?
Right. What hubby was talking about when we first found out this, it was going to be like OIDA on steroids, because this company, there's two segments to it. There's the free part, which is for anybody and everybody can be a part of this. And then there's the CDL drivers only part of it. That is a membership-based community where there's a head committee of all CDL drivers, and this organization is going to be representing the whole community at the FMCSA, out in public. They're doing research for us so that we can have information. They have hired interns that have already done a ton of information and set up this whole community. The membership, don't quote me wrong, it's going to be $10 or $15 a month, but the discounts that they have already negotiated for us as drivers will literally pay for that membership. But it's the drivers that...
Go ahead, Lisa.
It's the drivers that are going to steer this organization in whatever direction it needs to be at the time. So if there's a huge push on parking problems, that's where the whole organization is going to go. Or at least the parts of the CDL that affects. That won't affect the bus drivers, so they don't need to worry about that. It won't affect, the dump truck drivers that only stay local, so they don't need to worry about that. The whole community, you can start your own page. You can get notifications on what's going on in the flatbed world. You can hit subscribe, and it'll send you an email when stuff comes out about flatbedders. Like I said, the discounts go anywhere from health insurance to tires to truck insurance, obviously, groceries for your family, hotels, dining discounts, things that you don't necessarily have to use in your truck driving life. You can use them in your home life, too.
And that definitely sounds like something that's let's try this again. That sounds like something that'll be definitely of use to truck drivers. And, it's nice to see an organization, and, where one of the things that I always advocate on this show is join one of the organizations out there to advocate for drivers, whether it's OIDA, one of the other groups. This is obviously one the drivers can look into. Find the organization that's right for you, that fits your needs, and join them and get active. Because if you don't have that voice there, we're not going to be heard. And, one of the things that's worth pointing out now, more communities are enforcing truck parking bans. Overdrive's got a bit of an article on that right now that just came out on the 11th. And one of the things they're talking about is more commercial vehicles are being restricted in more and more communities. So that could include bus drivers who've been parking their buses at home for years. That can include the dump truck drivers who've been parking their trucks at home for years. So parking has the potential, particularly as things are changing out there, to be something. And having an organization that's listening to all these different groups and can listen together, there's power in numbers. So that definitely can be a benefit to us. But we are going to have to take another break here. We'll be back right after these messages. Stay tuned.
I'm Hope Savara, your host of the Driver Life Podcast, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on tncradio.live.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. Many years ago, when I was dating a woman with a 2-year-old, my mother had the opportunity to meet this child for the first time. And he impressed her so much by running up to her and giving her a big hug, and she was delighted. And afterwards she said, I don't know what to do. Should I love this little guy back? Because I don't know how long you were going to be together with his mother. And what I thought and said then is the same thing I would say to you or anyone else right now, which is we never know. how much time we have with anyone in our lives. How about we love them whenever we cross their paths and do the best we can in being kind and understanding and generous. And then the worst that could happen is we would lose someone we were very good to.
Hope Savara here. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on tncradio.live for my new show, The Driver Life Podcast. From your feet to the food you eat, from cellular health to how your cell phone affects your health, from how you move to improving your sleep. I believe it's the small, simple changes that lead to the big results in your life so that you can feel good again. We cover it all here on the Driver Life Podcast, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on tncradio.live.
Welcome back in TNCRadio.live. This is Keep On Talking Live. And here's your host, Tom Kurt.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at the Counter of Knowledge, where we join each week where, hey, that conversation is hot, the coffee's not. And this week we're featuring foot-long apple pies from that Blue Springs Cafe out there in Missouri. So, hey, if you like pie, have a piece for me. But anyways, we're having a bunch of fun conversations tonight. We've got Lisa, Dutch, and Bruce on with us, and there's still room for you. You can call 706-862-8620. That'll get you through. And if you're listening in on that TNCradio.live app, you got that one button dialing to make it even easier for you while you're going down the road. And if for some reason you haven't downloaded it yet, why not? But we've been talking about a bunch of different topics tonight. And actually what I'm going to do at the moment is, Dutch, I'm going to kick it over to you first. You know, Lisa was telling us a little bit about that CDL Drivers Unlimited. Do you have any questions for her or thoughts on that?
Well, she did already answer my question because I'm a part of OIDA and I have that, whatever, the lifetime membership, which I just got at the Kentucky, not Kentucky, Louisville Truck Show, Matt's last year.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm just wondering if you could do like stuff like that with this new CDL Drivers Unlimited, if you can actually get a membership that you can do unlimited, like lifetime, if they're going to do something like that, or it's going to be only monthly. So I don't know about you guys, because that'd be a good idea, because a lot of these truck drivers, they don't want to pay that monthly because they have a lot of monthly bills. I mean, me, personally, I got Netflix, all them other entertainment things. I got so many I can't even name, I can't even put them on my two hands. I mean, I paid too much money, but that's near here or there. But I'm thinking, well, why not just have a lifetime for, let's say, $400. You pay it. You can make payments on it like I do with OIDA, and then you just pay like $50 a month. It's done, and you don't have to worry about paying another dime. I mean, that's just something I would think would be a good thing to put into the mixture of that group. Just an idea that.
Throw that out there. I'm asking right now if there is one.
And we definitely appreciate that. I think. Sorry, Dutch. Go ahead.
Because I mean, that thing you said was $14 a month or something like that. Well, that sounds like Netflix or one of the other ones. And a lot of people, I mean, you can do it automatic, but I'm a lease operator, so I get paid for every load that I do. I don't get paid a week. I don't get paid a salary. Like a lot of people get paid like 60, 70 cents a mile, and I get paid per load if I want to or whatever. But the thing is, I got a lot of my money already into something else. So if I know, okay, well, I need to pay this $80, I'll pay it before I pay everything else.
And that's great. And that makes a lot of sense. And really what it sounds like, Lisa, as part of this, you know, you're going to have tips and tricks, whether you're an owner, operator, lease driver, company driver, to maximize your potential out there to make money, correct?
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Bruce, let's kick it over to you for a minute. Do you have any thoughts or questions here for Lisa about this?
will they be offering lawyer assistance like Landline does with their lawyers?
Could be. I'm looking at their website right now. Like I said, I don't know everything there is to know about it. I'm learning quickly. That is a good idea, and I will definitely take it to them. If they haven't already, they can for the future.
Yeah, especially
they do
for
have help.
fighting tickets.
Right. They have compliance education, business services is on the website. Check out the website. There's a lot of stuff on there, and I've only been looking at it a couple different times. And part of this is that you can become a part of the community for free and ask for those things. If whatever you see that they don't have, let's get it. This is our community. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And one of the things that I'm kind of noticing too is, Lisa, you said the official launch is next week, correct, on this?
They start taking members next week.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that question is because I'm looking at like the CDL marketplace and 2 or 3 other places on the website, and it says programs launching third quarter, which I'm guessing will probably be next week or very soon thereafter. And there really isn't a lot of information yet about membership. But if you want to find more, I would suggest going to cdldu.com. You can learn more there. And get involved, watch it, and see if this is going to be the right organization for you. It's not always one size fits all, but from what I can see here, it does look like there's a lot of things that could be definitely interesting. And I've been doing, as part of having our little bit of fun, I've been throwing out a few trivia questions, and I forgot to ask a question last segment, so we're going to go to this segment. Let's see. How about which transmission has a high and low range as well as a splitter button so you can split both high and low gears? 8-speed, 10-speed, 13-speed, or 18-speed?
Who's the question for?
Anybody who can answer it.
I would have to say an 18-speed because we have a high-low and a splitter button.
Ding, ding, ding. Lisa is correct. So, see, it's not fair. You cheated. You had an 18 speed.
I do want to answer the question that was put out. Will they have legal services for traffic and DOT citations? There's a button for it on the website, and when I click on it, you have to log in, and I don't have my login, so I'm assuming that's in their plans.
Okay, cool.
That's good to hear.
That's definitely good to hear because, there is a bunch of different groups out there, whether it's your TVC or whatever it is, as well as some of the services DeWida offers. And having more options is right because some of those plans out there suck. Some of them are better than others. So when you can get more information, that's always a good thing because, hey, when it's your CDL, you want to make sure it gets protected. And there's everything else there. And you know what? This would not be a trucking radio show if I did not ask this question. Who was known as the Midnight Cowboy and in 2001 became known as the XM Satellite Cowboy?
Bill Mack.
Bingo. We have a winner. And then the next question is, I'm sure you all remember the song he wrote called Blue. That was sung by Leanne Rimes. Who was it originally written for?
That's a good question.
That's a mean question too. Who was that?
Yes, it is.
Who was that song originally written for?
Loretta Lynn?
Patsy Cline.
Oh, Patsy Cline.
And Bill said after her death, he intended to never had it recorded. And for some reason, and I don't remember the whole story, when he heard Leanne Rimes sing, he decided that was a song that would be perfect for her and agreed to let her record it. And that is how we heard Blue. But those are
her father threw it in the trash too when they first gave it to her. If you remember.
I forgot about that. And amazing, amazing the stories you'll find out on here and everything else. So I want to throw this kind of an open question here. We got about a minute and a half before we go to a break. Anybody have seen any other interesting news topics that they want to throw out that we can talk about here in our last and final segment when we come back? And if not, I will ask another trivia question. Okay, we'll do another.
We can,
go ahead, Lisa.
We can talk about the new medical book that's coming out for medical examiners.
Yep, that's probably a great question because somebody I know has to get a DOT physical here within the next 2 months, and that's probably not a bad idea to keep in mind for things that are going to be coming up on that. But anyways, we'll be back right after these messages. Stay tuned. You're listening to Keep On Talking here on TNCRadio.live.
I'm Hope Savara. Join us on TNCRadio.live at 7 p.m. Eastern with Building Strong Minds with your host, Dr. Christopher Cortman.
This blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 5 easy steps to help truckers stay awake while driving. Driving 11 hours a day, 7 days a week can be emotionally and physically exhausting. Sleep's a very important part of a long-haul truck driver's life. Being well rested and alert makes driving a lot more safe for both the trucker and other drivers on the road. Getting enough sleep may sound easier than it seems. Living on the road makes it difficult to get the recommended 8 hours of sleep. In fact, it's common for truckers to not get 8 hours of sleep due to the 11-hour work shift. To help, we've put together 5 tips to help truckers stay awake while driving. Take vitamins. One way truckers can stay awake while driving is by taking vitamins. Not only are vitamins good energy boosters, they have tons of other health benefits too. Vitamin B helps with fatigue, depression, mood boosting, and muscle weakness. Consider adding vitamins to your morning routine. Eat healthy. An unhealthy diet has a huge impact on one's overall health. Jennifer Sachek, PhD now, says, our bodies rely on the energy and nutrients we get from food. So what you eat, and how and when you eat it, can either drain you or sustain you. It might be more convenient to stop at a fast food restaurant or truck stop, but constantly eating junk food drains your energy. Check out our blog on quick and healthy meals for truckers for healthy food ideas. Take a nap. Before you hit the road, consider taking a short 20-minute nap. Several studies have shown that a quick nap immediately increases alertness and gives a boost in cognitive performance. Stay hydrated. Water has many health benefits. One benefit is reducing the chance of being fatigued. Drinking a pint of cold water is a great way to refresh yourself and stay more alert. Listen to upbeat music. Listening to upbeat music will have you tapping your foot, singing along, and stay on alert in no time. Avoid listening to relaxing music or audiobooks. These tend to make drivers more relaxed and sleepy. Truckers have a very demanding job. In order to deal with the stress and demand, it's very important to get the right amount of sleep. Hopefully, these 5 tips will help truckers stay awake while driving. This blog has been brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
Our grocery stores are stocked. Our packages arrive in just a few short days. No matter the day or season, we can thank America's truck drivers for the efficient delivery of over 10 billion tons of goods a year that we rely on. On this National Truck Driver Appreciation Week, we offer a big thank you to professional truck drivers for hauling the everyday goods that meet our daily needs. We thank a trucker. Brought to you by Trucking Moves America Forward at truckingmovesamerica.com. Follow us on social media at TruckingFWD.
Welcome back in TNCRadio.live. This is Keep On Talking. And now here's your host, Tom Kirk.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. We're back here on Keep On Talking Live, gathered around the counter of knowledge for our last and final segment. I got a couple quick trivia questions I'm going to ask here, and then Lisa had thrown out an idea for the last topic here that we're going to cover for tonight. The trivia question is, a reefer unit is A, a tobacco distribution center, B, industry recruiters who refer to drivers to job openings. C, a highway watchdog police assembly. Or D, a temperature-controlled truck trailer.
D.
D, obviously.
Wait, you mean it isn't a tobacco
But then you never
center?
know now, do we? Yeah.
Oh, but like I said, I saw
I guess
that
if
one.
it's hot enough and you need air conditioning, that'll work.
Yeah, well, hey, when I saw the tobacco distribution center, and I remember, and years ago, when I hauled for a major reefer company out of Texas, there was a huge joke about our trailers because we had the Texas trailer plates on there. So then they were the token trailer plates. So we pulled reefer token trailers. T-O-K-E-N, not that the other kind, guys. T-O-K-E-N. Jeez. But now a RGN, is that a Richard G. Nixon company truck, no relation, a region of operations such as Northeast, Southwest, Midwest, California only, a rig not engaged, or a truck that does not yet have an assignment, or a removable gooseneck trailer?
Removable gooseneck.
I was thinking you better get that one right, Catwoman.
I know I should. We pulled those. Yeah.
But in all honesty, we've had a little bit of fun here tonight with some of these trivia questions. But let's kind of close up a little bit. Hey, Lisa, you did mention something that drivers should be aware of coming up here, which is some of the proposed or possible changes to the medical regulations, or more specifically, the in air quotes, the Bible that medical examiners use for determining whether a driver is able to get their medical card. What are some of the things there that have you and Lee concerned? Because I know you pay attention to a lot of drivers and or issues that face drivers and are very vocal in them.
Well, we've had experience with that in the last 2 days, as a matter of fact, because Lee went to get his physical, and the doctor would not give him his physical unless he had a stress test. And the doctor, his heart doctor, says that, a stress test is not necessary. FMCSA says that the stress test is not necessary. And so we ended up literally going to a different doctor to get his physical so that we could get that in there. But one of the things that it states in the new medical exam book is there's no requirements in the FMCSRs, did I say that right, for treatment, for waiting periods, or any of that. So you don't have to wait for, like we always thought you had to wait 8 weeks before you could go back to work after your heart attack. That's not according to FMCSA.
What?
The regs. So it's all guidance. That entire book is guidance.
That's right.
It is not laws. Guidance is unenforceable.
In other words, it's a strong suggestion, but it's not a requirement.
Correct. So a doctor can't make you get a stress test before your physical because it's not a law.
Right. And
he ended up on the phone.
It's simply interpretation.
And
he actually ended up on the phone with...
Go ahead, Lisa. Sorry.
So sorry. We ended up on the phone with the chief medical examiner from Washington, D.C. to get this all straightened out and find out how he can get his physical. So drivers need to be vocal. And as you said, we keep an eye on these kinds of things. And we just had a friend tonight say, if this was anybody else but Lee Schmidt, he would have just rolled over and waited. We can't get in for a stress test until November. So here we sit now with no CDL because the physical is going to expire and, can't get in to get a stress test. Not to mention it's $5,000 every other year. And he literally asked Larry Miner, what am I supposed to do? Get a stress test now for the next 20 years at $5,000 every other year? Just because way back when I had a heart attack, it's got to end somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If your health is good, why would you need that?
And that to me makes a lot of sense. And like you said, these regulations are meant to be a guidance, because I think we all remember a few years ago where it really was the wild, wild west of medical exams, where you saw drivers who could barely walk and breathe over the parking lot, who you honestly thought were going to drop, who would get passed on physicals. And in some cases, you wondered how. So the standardization, to some sense, was great. The problem is you've got certain companies who have taken some of the guidances or proposed guidances and have turned them into their version of law because they're using their company doctors. If they say you have to have for example, sleep study because it is their company policy and beyond compliance, you have to get your physical card through their doctor, they can force you to do that. So that's one of the things that drivers also need to keep in mind is, yes, companies can require some of that stuff, but at the same token, if that is a concern for you, pick companies that allow you to choose your doctor, because the other thing too is, well, you're not supposed to doctor shop. You are allowed to get second opinions for your medical card. And that's something that I think drivers forget is they hear that first thing and they're always going, oh, I got to go do XYZ. If you're a doctor and you think you're healthy, no, you are allowed to go and get that second opinion. So that's important. That's important stuff that's out there that drivers do need to know. And the other thing I think too, Lisa, and I think you'll agree with me on this along with everybody else, there's different times that new regulations get proposed, whether it's about health or everything else. Stay on top of that. Make sure you do those comment periods. Reach out to your local legislators, state, federal, whatever is appropriate for that particular issue, and make sure they're aware of your opinions and how it's going to affect the industry as well as you and your family. And get your friends to do the same thing. Get your family to do the same thing. It's important that we get the word out on some of these issues. And you're living proof with Lee putting in for that hours of service exemption. How many comments came in on that? I know when I looked at it at one point, it was in the hundreds, if not thousands.
It's 667, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot compared to 5 years ago. There would have been 2 or 3 comments on it. And that's what we've always stressed, too, is on these comment periods, for crying out loud, the government is asking for your opinion. So give it. It doesn't cost you anything but 5 minutes of your time to let them know. And the more of us drivers and CDL holders that can do this and stand up, that's our voice direct to the government. And I've heard many times, oh, it doesn't do any good. But we have to play their game. It's their game and their rules. This is how it works. You can't not, it's like when you don't vote, you don't get to complain. If we all do their comments, then you can go to your congressman and say, listen, look at these comments. Everybody was against it, but the FMCSA still put it in. We need Congress's help. This is how you play the game. This is how we got the exemption request in. It says right in the green book how to submit your exemption request, exactly what steps you have to do. We followed those to a T. We got published. I will say that other people have gotten published even though they didn't follow that criteria to the T, but we'll all learn how that works out shortly, I hope.
Exactly. And that's stuff that is important to keep in mind. Hey, we're getting near here to the end of the show, so we're going to have to wrap things up here in just a moment. But one of the things I want to kind of close out on is a follow-up to what Lisa just said. Hey, guys, get a hold of your congressman, because we've heard comments from OOIDA and other places that when drivers comment to these federal legislators or state legislators as appropriate, and they follow up to talk about these issues that are coming before them, they're like, hey, we got 50, 100, 25 comments, and they take notice of that things. But most importantly, please be polite. Please be professional. Don't use curse words. Act like the professionals that I know you are. Act like you're talking to your grandkids or something like that in terms of the language you use, because it is important. When you start using those curse words, a lot of those guys are just going to stop listening. So, it seems common sense, but unfortunately, I can be guilty of that too. I get a little too blunt for my own good. So that's a reminder for me just as much as it is for anybody else. But hey, We are getting ready to close up the show tonight. Flo's flashing the lights, telling me I need to clear out for Larry and Angie Baum. They'll be coming up next with Tail Lights. And after that is going to be Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker. So stay tuned for more great programming here on TNCRadio.live. We'll be back next week with more Keep On Talking Live. Stay tuned for Ari and Langie. Wow. Larry and Angie coming up next.